They won't ask. They'll take. When the grid goes down, 90% of Americans are 3 days from chaos, and your biggest threat won't be starvation. It'll be your neighbor. The friendly one. The desperate one. The one who saw your generator, your garden, your Amazon packages. They remember. And when the power's out for more than 72 hours, the rules change. In California's rolling blackouts, home invasions jumped 28% in just 5 days. During Venezuela's collapse, theft of home supplies surpassed food theft by 3 to 1. People aren't just looking for food, they're coming for the exact things you thought were safe. I'm not here to scare you. I'm here to show you the 10 things people will steal first during a blackout and how to make sure they never find them. Let's start with number 10, because if you think it's food, you've already made your first mistake. 10. Extension cords, cables, and power splitters. You ever try to run a generator during a blackout and realize your power's useless without a cord long enough to get it inside safely? Yeah. Welcome to the most overlooked high-value item in any grid-down scenario, extension cords. Not just the cheap orange ones you get at Walmart, I mean heavy-duty outdoor-rated, multi-socket insulated cables, the kind that keep a freezer cold from 50 feet away or safely split juice from a single generator into 3 households. In the 2023 Maui wildfires aftermath, FEMA contractors reported rampant thefts of power cords. People were literally yanking extension lines from active emergency setups while crews went on breaks. Why? Because cords are enablers. Your generator, battery bank, or solar panel setup is just a glorified paperweight if you can't route that power where you need it. And here's a stat most folks miss. In urban centers, over 60% of residential power theft cases involve someone illegally tapping into someone else's line using, you guessed it, cords and splitters. Now imagine that desperation in a blackout. Your neighbor hears your fridge humming, spots a cord trailing through the yard, and decides to make it community property. You're not just at risk of theft, you're at risk of confrontation. How do you protect them? Step 1. Decoys. Leave visible cheap cords coiled up like you haven't used them in years. Step 2. Hide the good stuff in hollow PVC pipes, behind drywall cutouts, or zip-tied under basement stair treads. Bonus tip: spray paint the cords. That bright yellow? Gone. Olive drab or brown blends in. Use Velcro cord sleeves labeled holiday lights or tree trimmer kit, and never leave cords plugged in unattended. One yank and your whole system is exposed. During a blackout, control of power is control of everything, and cords are the keys. Don't let yours fall into someone else's hands. 9. Manual tools. Because electricity won't help you fix anything. Think your battery drill is going to save you when the power's out and your fence needs fixing or your door's been kicked in? Think again. Once those lithium cells die, and they will, manual tools become the MVPs of blackout survival. I'm talking hand-crank drills, bow saws, pry bars, hammers, clamps, axes, and full-on brace and bit tool sets. And let me hit you with a truth most modern homeowners don't want to admit. 85% of American households no longer own more than 5 non-powered tools. That's not just negligence. That's vulnerability. In Cuba, during the special period of the 1990s, blackouts were constant. Guess who had power? The guy with the hand auger and a hand plane. People were bartering tool use for food. You needed a whole board or a cabinet mended, you paid, either with calories or favors. Why will neighbors steal these first? Because when their battery chainsaw dies, your $19 hand saw becomes worth more than their flat-screen TV. And trust me, you won't find replacement tools in stores. Those get looted in the first 24 hours. So here's what you do. Never store them in a garage pegboard. That's a billboard for preppers. Move tools into sealed totes under your deck or in a garden shed with a false floor. Better yet, split up your sets. Store the handles in one place, the heads in another. I've got my axes buried head down in a 5-gallon bucket of dry sand labeled winter grit. Nobody's checking that. And don't forget camouflage. Wrap duct tape over handles. Make tools look broken or rusted. You want looters to think you're just as helpless as they are. Because in a long-term blackout, it won't be your electronics they come for. It'll be the old-school iron and wood they can actually use. 8. Cooking ingredients. You didn't think were valuable. You know what's more dangerous than running out of food in a blackout? Having food, but not having what you need to cook it. I'm not talking fuel. I mean the little things. Salt, oil, spices, baking soda, yeast, vinegar, flour, bouillon cubes, the boring ingredients you scroll past in every prepping checklist, until it's day 6 and your rice tastes like cardboard and your canned chicken is triggering gag reflexes. During the 2020 Lebanese economic collapse, these exact invisible ingredients shot up over 700% in black market value. Not because they're rare, but because they make edible food palatable and morale manageable. You think your neighbors won't notice your house smells like stew while they're gnawing on cold beans? Think again. These aren't just flavor boosters. They're survival multipliers. Salt preserves, vinegar disinfects, baking soda cleans, sugar keeps kids calm. And yeast? That's bread, alcohol, even fuel for some biostoves. You better believe people will take risks to get these. So what do? You hide them in the least obvious containers. I keep salt sealed in a protein powder tub, sugar in Ziplocs inside a pet food bin, yeast vacuum packed in a bag of dryer lint labeled craft supplies. Put bouillon cubes inside a jar labeled buttons and sewing stuff. No one's rifling through your old Girl Scout badges looking for oregano. And let me be blunt, never store these in your kitchen cabinets. It's the first place looters search. Rotate tiny portions into decoy spice racks. Keep the bulk where it'll blend in, inside old ammo cans, under your bathroom sink in a tampon box, or stuffed in a coat pocket hanging in the attic. In a blackout, comfort food becomes sanity food. And your forgotten pantry ingredients? They become loot. Guard them like gold because to the hungry, that jar of garlic powder is a 5-star meal. 7. Garden tools. And not for gardening. Let's get one thing straight. When your neighbor comes over asking to borrow a shovel during a blackout, they're not planting tomatoes. They're burying trash, building barricades, or preparing their outhouse. Welcome to the grimy truth of grid-down living. Sanitation and survival both need shovels. And not just shovels, hoes, rakes, mattocks, post-hole diggers, hatchets, loppers. These become mission-critical tools not for growing food, but for managing collapse. After the 2010 Haiti earthquake, the UN reported that over 70% of spontaneous survival camps used repurposed garden tools to build walls, dig latrines, and fend off looters. In modern prepping terms, your spade is worth more than your silver. And here's a stat nobody talks about. During Hurricane Harvey, tool theft from suburban sheds increased by 800% within 4 days. Most weren't professional thieves. They were desperate homeowners trying to dig drainage, clear debris, or protect their families. Which means one thing. In a blackout, garden tools become weapons, construction aids, and sanitation systems all in one. And they are easy to steal if you leave them in plain sight. So what's the move? Forget the shed. That's the first place that gets ransacked. Hide tools in crawl spaces, under loose deck boards, or hang them vertically behind a stack of old plywood. Paint wooden handles gray or brown so they blend in. Better yet, dismantle them. I keep my rake heads detached and stored inside PVC tubes marked sprinkler parts. Shovel blades, buried upside down in planters with fake flowers on top, and never leave a wheelbarrow intact. Take off the wheel, stash it separately, and leave the frame looking rusted. No one's stealing a broken barrow in a crisis. Garden tools are more than just tools in a blackout. They're the backbone of off-grid living. Lose them, and you're one step closer to disaster. Keep them hidden, and you're one step ahead of everyone else. 6. Your medicine cabinet is a gold mine in a blackout. Not because you're running an apothecary, but because when supply chains freeze, access to basic health care disappears within 72 hours. and suddenly your bottle of amoxicillin is worth more than your laptop. In New Orleans post-Katrina, pharmacies were emptied not by junkies but by grandmothers looking for blood pressure pills and diabetics trying to survive. According to a 2022 report by the World Health Organization, in any major disaster, 1 in 4 people lose access to necessary medications within the first week. That means 1 out of every 4 of your neighbors could be desperate enough to take yours. But here's where it gets dangerous. It's not just prescription meds. It's Band-Aids, antiseptics, burn cream, gauze, EpiPens, asthma inhalers, antidiarrheals, and even vitamins. You think people won't come for that extra bottle of ibuprofen in your bug-out bag? Think again. During the Ukraine war in 2022, soldiers were looting abandoned homes not for ammo, but for painkillers and antibiotics. In long-term grid failures, a simple infection becomes a death sentence. So yes, your first aid stash is high-priority loot. How do you keep it safe? First rule, split your stash. Don't keep all your meds in the bathroom cabinet. That's the first place raiders look. I keep mine in heat-sealed bags inside old cereal boxes in the pantry, mislabeled as bulk spices. Emergency antibiotics are vacuum-sealed in a pouch taped to the underside of my water heater. And pill bottles? Wrapped in duct tape, labeled wood screws, and tossed in the garage toolbox. Second rule, disguise value. Don't let a label like tramadol or insulin sit in plain sight. Use code names. Rotate your decoys. Keep expired pill bottles with placebos visible. And always, always carry critical meds in a body-worn concealment pouch. Because when word gets out that you can stop pain or control blood sugar, people won't ask. They'll take. 5. Your neighbors love your gas can more than they love you. In a blackout, fuel isn't a resource, it's power. And I mean that literally. It's the difference between heat and hypothermia, cooking and starvation, life and death. In the 2021 Texas grid collapse, emergency fuel shortages hit in less than 48 hours. People were siphoning gas from parked cars at Walmart. Propane tanks were being stolen off backyard grills in broad daylight. And it's not just generators. Think stoves, lanterns, chainsaws, bug-out vehicles, even DIY heating systems built from steel drums and cinder blocks. Here's what you don't realize. Most people don't store fuel. The few that do, they become targets. You got a 5-gallon can of unleaded? That's 4 hours of generator power or 2 days of cooked meals. And propane? A full 20 RB tank runs a heater or stove for a week, and don't think they won't take it just because it's locked up. During Hurricane Ian, law enforcement in Florida logged more than 700 theft reports involving fuel storage units being pried open or cut with bolt cutters, and that was just in the first 3 days. How do you protect it? Don't store it where it's expected. Everyone's looking in the garage or backyard shed. I store small butane canisters in old shoe boxes labeled winter boots and seal my gas in blue water containers buried under mulch behind the garage. I also keep 1 propane tank inside a fake air filter box next to my HVAC system. Looks like maintenance junk. Second, use multiple formats. Butane, white gas, diesel, wood pellets. Diversify your fuel sources so you don't run dry when your primary runs out. And third, camouflage your usage. A generator should be in a sound muffling box. If you're cooking with propane, do it early in the day when the smells won't travel far, because nothing says target louder than the hiss of propane and the smell of hot food. 4. Infant and elderly care supplies. Now we're getting into the high-risk, high-emotion territory. If you think baby wipes and adult diapers are low priority in a blackout, you're not seeing the full picture. These aren't just hygiene items, they're lifelines. When the power's out, the water's gone, the sewer's backed up, and the store shelves are stripped, a single pack of diapers or bottle of insulin becomes survival-grade gear. During the Puerto Rico blackout post-Hurricane Maria, hospitals reported that 38% of elderly patients were readmitted simply because their caregivers ran out of supplies. That's right. No bandages, no wipes, no hygiene pads, no gloves, just raw desperation. And you better believe that kind of desperation spreads. People with infants or bedridden loved ones will do anything, anything to relieve that suffering. So when they hear you've got a stash of baby formula, Ensure, or adult wipes, you become their pharmacy. During COVID-19, infant formula shortages led to fistfights in grocery store parking lots. That wasn't even a grid collapse. Now imagine those same shortages with no restocks, no phones, and no police response. So how do you guard this ultra-sensitive, high-need inventory? First, never advertise. A stroller on your porch, a stack of Huggies boxes in your recycling, even the faint sound of a baby crying. These are all signals. I keep formula sealed in vacuum bags labeled powdered milk test, hidden inside a tote marked plaster repair. Adult diapers in black trash bags behind seasonal decorations. Medications like metformin, insulin, and stool softeners taped under drawers, inside Tylenol bottles, or stashed in locked tool chests. Second, decoys save lives. Keep an open pack of wipes or old expired baby food in plain sight. Let anyone who breaks in think they got your last box. Third, rotate and ration. If you've got a dependent family member, their needs come first, but never use it all at once. In a blackout, it's not the gear you show that keeps you alive. It's the gear no one ever finds. 3. Communication gear, radios, walkie-talkies, and emergency scanners. Once the grid dies, you realize real fast that information is oxygen. And if you have a way to receive, or worse, transmit it, you've got what everyone else will kill to get. I'm talking hand crank radios, ham rigs, walkie-talkies, satellite communicators, police scanners, no AA receivers, mesh network repeaters, any device that can reach outside the blackout zone. Because when phones go dead, towers collapse, and the internet's gone, those with radios become the new town criers, or warlords. After the 2022 Pakistani floods, survivors reported that neighborhoods with working shortwave radios were able to coordinate food drops and evac routes. The others? Left in the dark. And here's the kicker. In the 2003 Italian blackout, looters were using two-way radios to coordinate attacks on ATMs and pharmacies. They jammed police comms with static. Now think of that being used against your street. Here's something most people don't know. Most walkie-talkies on the market run the same channels. That means if your neighbors have a set and so do you, they can listen in, track you, trap you. And that cute hand crank radio you bought on Amazon? Once it makes a sound, you're not anonymous anymore. How do you protect your gear? Rule 1. Never charge it where it glows. A lit-up radio window in a blackout is like waving a flare. I wrap mine in blackout cloth with only one LED peak hole. Rule 2. Disguise and disconnect. I keep my shortwave radio sealed inside a vintage bread box, my walkies in a bin labeled Old Christmas Lights, and my ham antenna coils inside a busted vacuum cleaner shell. Rule 3. Change the defaults. Rename your channels, scramble if possible, and never leave devices unattended on public frequencies. Because in the dark silence of a grid-down event, the one who speaks becomes the one everyone's listening to. And if they hear you have gear, it won't be long before they try to make it theirs. 2. Animals, dogs, chickens, and yes, even rabbits. Nobody talks about this. Nobody wants to. But if you live in a suburb, small farm, or even have a coop in your backyard, your animals are targets. Not just for companionship, for food, for defense, and for trade. In Venezuela's collapse, stray dogs vanished, eaten or sold. In rural Argentina, people with chickens had to sleep with loaded weapons because thieves would steal them at night, quietly, efficiently, repeatedly. And here's something most folks don't want to admit. Chickens are loud. Their clucks during laying or predator alerts are dead giveaways that you've got protein on 2 legs. Now, here's what makes this worse. Most preppers raise livestock in obvious setups, chicken wire runs, backyard hutches, pens with feed bins nearby. That's a billboard. In the 2021 South African blackouts, communities reported that goats, rabbits, and hens were being stolen not just by criminals, but by neighbors, even relatives. The betrayal was personal because hunger overrides loyalty. And it's not just food animals. Dogs become targets too. Guard dogs are stolen for defense or breeding, even small dogs. Kidnapped for trade or slaughter in some urban areas. Horrifying? Yes. Real? Absolutely. In post-disaster Thailand, a Doberman could be traded for 3 weeks of rice. Think that wouldn't happen here? Think again. Your well-fed German Shepherd is worth more than your AR-15 in a 3-week blackout. So what do? First, conceal the sound. Soundproof your animal housing with foam, barrels, or straw bales. Second, hide the supplies. Feed bags, egg cartons, leashes. Keep them indoors, out of sight. Third, double fence with decoys. A visible chicken run with empty feeders buys you time. The real coop? Behind a false wall in a shed, buried entrance, or underground crawlspace pen. And fourth, prepare to move. Have carriers ready. If you think your animals will survive a blackout untouched just because they're cute or quiet, you're living in a fantasy. In collapse, protein walks on legs, and everyone's looking for their next meal. Let me say it with no sugarcoating, no euphemism, no clever metaphor. The number one thing your neighbors will try to steal in a blackout is you. Not your stuff, not your generator, not your water stash. You, your skills, your strength, your mind, your time, your will. Because when the grid collapses and society hits rock bottom, it doesn't just become a barter economy. It becomes a dependency economy. And if you've prepared, really prepared, people are going to realize they can't survive without you. And then they'll come knocking. First, it'll be, can you help us? Then, you owe the community. And finally, if you don't, we'll take what we need. This is what happened in Bosnia during the siege of Sarajevo. Trained electricians, mechanics, doctors, midwives, even butchers, they couldn't leave their apartments without armed escort. Why? Because their skills made them too valuable. They became hostages of usefulness. In Syria's collapse, engineers were kidnapped by rebel groups to keep the lights running in tunnels. In Hurricane Katrina, National Guardsmen had to protect volunteers from the people they were helping. Because when people are desperate and someone has answers, that someone becomes property. And this goes deeper. If you're seen as a leader, if your home is the one with light, warmth, food, security, people will look to you not just for help, but for direction. And that power is dangerous. It draws envy. It attracts control. You might survive the blackout, but not the consequences of being seen as the one who has it all. So how do you protect yourself? First, gray man everything. Don't let anyone know you're prepared. No flexing gear, no online bragging. No just-in-case tips in neighborhood Facebook groups. Second, practice denial. I lost power too. I'm running low myself. Third, prepare to disappear. Have a hideout, a second location. A bolt hole where even your friends don't know you're going. Because in a long-term collapse, when the systems fail and chaos spreads, your greatest threat won't be nature or war or hunger. It will be people. And if you're not careful, they'll take the most valuable thing you have. You.